Oh, that looks like my friend Kristen Boyle. How you doing, Kristen from
Hey,
HireRoad? What's
Kristen.
happening?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good
Hello.
morning. What's shaking?
Thanks for having me. Excited to be on the Purple Acorn.
Well, welcome. You're an old friend to the show, so welcome back. You're a
Welcome,
friend to the
welcome.
podcast, a friend to everyone here, and thank you to HireRoad. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me. Excited to
What's
be
what's cooking in your world? What's cooking over at HireRoad? What's new?
busy times. I mean, as a marketer, right, we're gearing up for our next set of event season. So I'll see you all at HR Tech, but that's like one of three we've got lined up. So busy times over here at Higher Road.
It
All good.
is, and I think I'll be seeing you at HR Tech as well. So looking forward to that one. But let's kind of level set there for any folks that are not familiar with HireRoad. Let's just give a quick overview. What does HireRoad do, and what makes you guys special?
Yeah, so HireRoad is we offer several different types of HR technologies from recruitment, onboarding, learning, and people analytics. But kind of my bread and butter here, as in our go-to-market, is around People Insight, which is our people analytics product. So really exciting times to be in people analytics. It's our mission is really to democratize it, make it available for the smallest of companies. It's not just for the behemoths with a team of data scientists. So we have a really cool solution for that and a team of analysts in house. And we do a lot of really cool research, thought leadership on all of the different ways you can slice and dice recruitment and HR data to tell a great story.
Yeah, it's incredible with the technology out there and using AI the right way with the right inputs and the right data sets, being able to prompt it to not only get the answers you're looking for, but really find those insights you weren't looking for, right? Because that's the gold in the data there. So I want to talk about your new ebook, A Guide to Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Analytics. This
Mhm.
is interesting, and tell us about it, right? What is this a roadmap for?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, most, not, I don't want to generalize, but you think most companies are pro DEI, right? They agree
Hmm.
that this is important. I'm
Not
going
about these days. A lot in the news, especially with yeah.
to maybe not in
Sorry, it's
Florida.
Oh,
something in my
bless
throat.
you.
Thank you.
So I don't know, maybe not in Florida, but in a lot of areas, DEI is really important, and it's one thing to sort of say, yes, we as a company prioritize DEI. We want to hire diverse candidates, but to actually be able to measure that and make a plan to improve your DEI recruitment, internal mobility, employee engagement, all of that is a lot harder, and I think very few companies are really strategically able to tell that story to leadership and to potential candidates. So, we are able to connect the dots of all the necessary data points and help you uncover that DEI story with people
So
analytics.
let's lift up the hood a little bit there and go one level deeper there. What are some of those if we're breaking it down into categories? What are those data sets that we're looking at or a company could look at to measure DNI? And the second part of that is each company is a little bit different based on their thresholds and their company makeup, but you're calibrating against a set number. How does that work?
Yeah, so the different types of data, I mean, I think the data sets as silos are only as useful as how you're able to connect them. But everything from candidate data, right? People who are self-identifying, if you're recruiting candidates on specific DEI or different ethnicity or underrepresented group sites, you're able to track that data. And then on the kind of post-hire employee side, your demographics of your employees, so age,
Hmm.
ethnicity, gender, how are you able to track that in headcount and then track it through for promotions, for your different levels of management and executives? And how are we have some companies that work with People Insight who are matching that back to census data to say, are we actually reflecting the national breakdown of different underrepresented groups?
So I think that the X factor, and I'm just going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, not so much as DEI and B, because I'm a full supporter of most of those initiatives. But when you layer on from a performance, an employee performance perspective, when it gets a little bit subjective, unless it's quantifiable, like a sales role, like if
Mhm.
you have quotas you're not meeting and then you're matching that against a demographic data, that's in my opinion, and we're speaking generally here, across companies and everything, that's where I think it gets a little bit gray. What are your thoughts?
And why do you think it gets gray? Just so I can double click.
Yeah, I mean, I just think from a calibration perspective, right? If you're saying like, are we ensuring that we have a diverse and inclusive workforce versus, the quality of someone's output of their work, right? And I think that's always kind of where the juxtaposition comes. Like, when we talk about recruiting, whenever I have a client that says, I'm being very candid here, they say, we want to ensure that our diversity and we're in our hiring process and we want to make a diverse hire. And then I always push back. I said, A, do you want the best candidate for the job, regardless of who they are, what they look like, what they sound like? Or more importantly, do we just want to ensure that in our sourcing, screening, and recruiting process that we are following DEI and B guidelines, that we're making
Mhm.
sure we're inclusive of it? So I think that's kind of where the gray area comes into play.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point, and I think it's, arming companies with data gives them the chance to sort of diagnose what is the issue, right? You don't wanna hire a bunch of underperformers just for the sake of kind of showing diversity at your company, but to be able to pull apart trend data and say, "Hey, look, these are the people that we're hiring, and we wanna make sure there's fair opportunities for everyone, and we are looking at performance data maybe first and foremost, but we're also making sure that certain managers, certain departments, certain roles aren't kind of lagging and why if they are lagging, why is that? Let's go deeper. Let's make sure the right training is in place, the right opportunities.
100%.
So I think it's about just being able to diagnose with the data.
100%. And you hit the nail on the head on that. And thank you for that explanation there. And I think there's another important point too. And this comes with all of us. Like, I think it's fair to say we all have unconscious biases, right? We're all fallible. We're all human. We all get brought up in different worlds. We're exposed to different things. And we all have unconscious biases. And I think the key to combating those unconscious biases is self-awareness. And the way to do that is with data to show us, hey, as a recruiter, maybe I'm not looking or I'm turning around candidates with certain names or certain profiles, but it's unconscious. I'm not doing it consciously. And once you're aware of what your biases are, that's when you could really start to make changes. So that's where I see the data really helping in this world.
Yep, yeah, exactly. It goes way beyond sort of the gut instinct of, hey, I'm using Indeed because it's so, the population, it's so representative. Well, do you actually know that? Are you getting the right applicants, and make sure that you're also looking elsewhere, and you want to diversify your recruitment strategy for that.
I love that. And has there been any of those aha moments with working? And we're not trying to call out any of your clients here. We can just keep it anonymous, right? Any kind of aha moments where you uncovered something that you weren't expecting, and you kind of went down that rabbit hole, and it's made tremendous changes within an organization's culture.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of customers really tap into their DEI strategies using People Insight. Mattamy Homes is a kind of construction company. They were able to sort of look at promotion and attrition rates, and they were able to drill down by gender, and they identified that there was really high turnover among like millennial high performing females. So again, that's
Hmm.
like three levels, right? It's like age group, performance, and gender. And they're able to kind of showcase that insight to leadership using some DEI dashboards to say, look, this is where the turnover, the big gap is. And ultimately they created a really cool program called like Win at Mattamy. And that
Hmm.
was focused on developing and retaining, younger women and growing them in the organization to sort of help combat that turnover. So I think that's just one use case. You identify a gap, you present that to leadership with data, and then you get buy-in to go try to fix it.
So let's talk about that leadership. We all know, all four of us here, that any initiative starts at the top. You have to have corporate buy-in. You have to have C-suite buy-in. It has to come from the top. What are some of those effective methods of getting buy-in where, the companies are like, we're not just checking the box to work with, HireRoad. We're really doing this, and we want to implement whatever findings they are and really take a deep look at it. What are some of the ways that you work with leadership to ensure that they're doing this for the right reasons?
Yeah, I think, in terms of kind of connecting this data, HR metrics back to what matters to leadership, there's a few things. I think understanding what leadership is actually asking about and the why, right? They want to every CEO is like, what's the current time to fill? It's like, why do
Hmm.
you actually want to know that? Is it because your sales team is not performing? Okay, then let's actually drill into that and not focus on time to fill. And maybe time to fill is part of it, but maybe it's onboarding, maybe it's, the management.
Lots
So
of factors.
there's a lot of factors there. And I think, the ability for us to work with customers, we create executive dashboards. So what are the most important metrics that you're going to get asked about as you're walking down the hallway and your CEO stops you, or you need to have, maybe your chief of staff needs on hand? Make sure that those data points are accessible, easy to find, already filtered to exactly how your CEO or whoever wants to view it. Having all of that ready just makes it, I think, what we hear from customers, HR teams often are hesitant to share their data because they don't know if it's accurate. Data people data is messy. It takes a while. Oh, let me get you that in 4 to 5 business days. Having data quickly and accurately and confidently is huge, and that's how you get your leadership to start trusting you as an HR team.
And then, it always comes down to an ROI, right? What is the ROI of a DEI initiative? And mostly it's skeptical executives. Like, why are we doing this? Again, it goes back to checking the boxes, but having those dashboards shows improvement,
Mhm.
whether it be attrition, right? Whether it be attrition, whether it be, onboarding experience, it's just making for a better organization. We absolutely love this. Give us a little alpha before we move on here, Kristen. What's the next step of this initiative of the program?
Yeah, I mean, I think DEI is it's ongoing, right? We are constantly working with companies to connect the dots between recruitment data and sort of HCM, HRIS data, and I think DEI is the perfect example there. So there's a lot of data that exists coming from the TA world, data that exists in how to, target diverse candidates with your recruitment strategy, but a lot of times then you lose sight of what happens to them after you hire them or after, they get into the interview stage. So I think being able to connect the dots there is a really big step of seeing your data all in one place so that you can go deeper, ask the right questions, and be able to kind of showcase your progress and initiatives to leadership.
Yeah,
I
and
love it.
it's a huge selling point too for this next gen of workers that not only do they care about DEI, but they actually want that communication of how is DEI being worked on constantly and improved.
Right.
It's not just about saying it on your career, your career site.
Right, exactly. And I think demonstrating, kind of having that reflected in leadership in your interview panel, making that really clear to candidates as they're coming in is going to show that you're not just talk, you're really doing the walk too.
Well, this is
Love it.
fantastic. Kristen, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and big shout out to HireRoad. I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation in September later on at HR Tech and keeping it going. Kristen, thank you for being a friend to the show. We appreciate you. Everyone check out HireRoad. Where else? Where else could they connect? Is that it?
HireRoad.com. Find me on LinkedIn. Kristen Boyle, would love to connect. And thank you guys for having me.
Kristen,
Always.
always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the HR Morning Show, brought to you by our friends over at Erin. So thank you so much.